What's up, everybody? This was originally supposed to be a World Cup quarterfinal recap video, but I've decided to take this in a different direction after what happened this weekend in Qatar. You've probably heard by now Grant Wahl, one of the most respected, most accomplished, highest profile soccer journalists in the United States, tragically passed away shortly after the Netherlands Argentina quarterfinal game. And I want to. I didn't know Grant personally. I had been in a couple press conferences where he asked questions, but didn't have any kind of personal relationship with him. But I want to start this by talking about the impact he did have on me. Because without Grant Wahl, I don't think I'm sitting here making this video, and I don't think you see the name Touchline Talk above my head. Like many other people who love this sport in this country, I had been following Grant on social media for a long time, and I saw when he took his work independent, created his Substack, and decided to go off on his own and continue doing the work he had been doing for Sports Illustrated and other outlets, and just do it independently. That really was an inspiration to me, and sort of the thing that sparked this idea in my head that maybe I could do something similar. Not that I could ever replicate what Grant had built, but seeing him bet on himself, the work he was doing, the brand he had established, the loyalty of his readers, really was in large part the inspiration for Touchline Talk and for me starting my own Substack and ultimately also deciding to start this YouTube channel. And anybody in the media space can testify to how difficult it is to get a large audience to follow you from a place where you have a massive brand sort of driving traffic to you, a massive brand associated with your name, to doing something independently and asking people to pay for it. The fact Grant Wahl did that rather seamlessly, at least it looked like to me, successfully, so smoothly, is an incredible testament to just how good of a journalist he was. The stories he could tell, the sources he had, the way he connected with his readers, the way people respected him as a source for information and his perspective on soccer. It is so difficult to get people to pay for your specific work when you don't have any company attached to you. And there were thousands of people paying for Grant Wahl's work. And he was covering World Cups by and large just off of his Substack. And that has always just struck me, that he was able to transfer the brand he had built through his other stops into an independent project and just continue all of the work he was doing, continue trying to grow this sport, continue trying to raise important questions, all of the stuff that anybody who knows Grant Wahl and his work knows he was about. And so I do owe a thank you to Grant Wahl, even though I've never spoken to him, for showing that there are different ways to do this, to follow this passion, to cover soccer well, and that you can do it sort of independently and on your own terms. And I will forever be grateful to him for being one of the people who really paved that path for me. There are real questions about this that need to be answered. And I'm very, very intentional about trying not to jump to any kind of conclusions, because it just seems like it is so unclear exactly what happened. But there are things we do know. We know how his family reacted. and that at least his brother Eric finds it hard to believe this happened due to natural causes. We know Grant was temporarily detained earlier in this tournament by security. We know from Eric Grant had received death threats. We also know that Grant had been battling some kind of sickness that got diagnosed. Maybe it was an accurate diagnosis, maybe it wasn't. But the constant theme from Grant's family was he was healthy. And he did talk about going to receive medical attention while in Qatar. So at this point there's just not enough information. It could be that this was just a horrific medical situation that for some reason took this terrible turn dramatically for the worst. But the questions about foul play are completely fair. Again, not that I'm jumping to any conclusions about what actually happened. But his family and the people close to him deserve answers and deserve a thorough investigation to figure out what happened. However that turns out. Because there have been too many things, both that Grant personally experienced in Qatar and just overall at this tournament, to rule out the possibility that this was a murder. And that is something I have really been struggling with since I learned this news. Trying to balance the not jumping to conclusions and letting the facts come out as we learn more information, while also not being able to shake this fear I have that something truly awful, not just tragic, but that foul play was involved. Again, we don't know. But the notion that that is a possibility is really, really sticking with me, and it's really shook me to my core. And so I just hope, for the sake of his legacy, for his family and those close to him, that we are able to get the answers he deserves and they deserve. Because we need to know what happened. Whether it was some kind of really unfortunate medical situation or whether it was some kind of something else. So I'm just trying to keep an open mind while also being very insistent. There are questions that need to be answered about this because we just don't know. And his family, his friends deserve to know. So thank you to Grant Wahl for the way you inspired me personally, the way I'm sure he inspired a bunch of other people, and for, in so many different ways, contributing to the growth of soccer in this country. That is something I am truly, truly passionate about, that I feel very strongly about. And Grant was at the forefront of trying to draw more attention to this sport. And I will forever appreciate him for that as well. Rest in peace, Grant Wahl. Real quick, I'm going to hit on our two semifinals since they are set and just discuss them sort of very briefly with the thing I'm looking for in both of them. We will start with France-Morocco. My big question here is, can France disrupt Morocco's game plan? Because you saw it in the Spain game, you saw it in the Portugal game. Morocco can take down these teams that have way more talent. if they are allowed to play the game on their terms. And that involves specifically being able to keep the ball in front of them and get, their entire team behind the ball and just make everything compact and not get stretched at all. There are a couple of different ways France could do this. Scoring the first goal, specifically a first goal in the first half, obviously would change the complexion of the game. But also, you saw it a couple times from Spain at the very end of the game, actually going more vertical, getting the ball into wide areas, getting the ball behind Morocco's center backs, and they're really depleted at the back. We'll have to see what kind of availability these players have for the semifinal, but they're missing key pieces in that back line, at least as of right now as I'm recording this video. So can you find a way to make them do something other than what they want to do? Because they have proven time and time again, you can have all the possession you want. You have to actually do something with it, or they're creating just enough chances, taking just enough chances. They've been so good defensively, so well organized. And you look at what England was able to do against France, where they took Mbappe out of transition. They really bothered France for large portions of that game. If Harry Kane converts that penalty, maybe it ends differently. England were the better team. And France just happened to find a way to win the game, which is what happens in knockout tournaments. But Morocco is sitting there with a blueprint as to how to make this a really, really difficult game for France. So my question is, can they actually execute that game plan one more time? Because the outline is there. Making it happen on the field against this France team is a different kind of challenge, so that's what I'm looking for in that game. Then Argentina, Croatia. Will Argentina have a sense of urgency from the get-go and be able to take the chances they create? That's what this game is going to come down to. I didn't think Brazil necessarily lacked urgency. They certainly could have had more urgency, though. And kind of left the game. They created chances specifically in the second half. They were much better. So it wasn't, there was a very clear difference between, for example, how Spain exited and how Brazil exited. But what this Croatian team has proven time and time again is they are really difficult to break down. And you can't just assume it's going to happen at some point. And earlier in the tournament, Argentina had some issues with that. Now, as they've gotten farther and farther into this tournament, they have been much, much better and have taken, a lot of 2-goal leads. Now, they gave one up against the Netherlands and found a way to prevail. But can they really put Croatia under pressure from the beginning of this game and make them hold out for 90 minutes rather than, I would argue, Brazil, it was more like 45, just that second half where Croatia were really under, a play or two in the first half. But can you make Croatia defend and expend energy for 90 minutes, or can they kind of coast for the opening 30, have a good spell of possession here or there, and really give them a chance to just lock in for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever it might be, where they really, really have to defend at a high level? Because I will always take the team that's putting pressure on an opponent for 90 minutes. But if you tell me that Argentina is really only dangerous for 30 minutes, I really like Croatia's chances in this game. And of course, the other part of this is, can Argentina actually put the ball in the net? You're not going to necessarily be worried about the counter. That's not the kind of team Croatia are, for the most part. But they are very, very good at creating and taking advantage of those, that one opportunity. They're going to have a chance or two, whether it's Perisic, Modric, whoever, Kramaric, whoever it might end up being. They're not going to create a lot of them, but they probably will get a high-quality chance or two. And so Argentina's efficiency in front of net is going to be huge in this game. If they only create 5 good chances and they don't finish them, Croatia's in a really good spot. Whether it goes to penalty, even before it goes to penalties, but also in penalties, considering their track record. If it's more like 10 and Argentina scored 2 of them, I like Argentina's ability to sort of pull back when they need to. Now, they didn't show it against the Netherlands. That's another part of this, is if Argentina does get a lead, do we get a repeat of that game? But before that, they had been quite good at holding on to leads once they got them. So that's going to be a factor in this as well. But really it comes down to, does this play out the way the Brazil game did or not? Because if it plays out something similar to Brazil, Croatia is going to feel very, very comfortable. Brazil could not make them look uncomfortable. And they found a way to get to the shootout and they won it. Can Argentina... It's a very similar theme for both of these games for me, and this is where I'll end. Right? You know who the favorite is, you know who the more talented team is. But you also have a team that is very comfortable in their blueprint on the other side, whether it's Morocco or whether it's Croatia, who aren't going to be fazed by only getting a couple chances, who are going to be defensively really well organized and focused on preventing you from getting really good chances, who are more than happy to just sort of play the long game. And it's happened multiple times where teams have kind of fallen into that trap and haven't found a way to actually produce the quality in the final third needed. And so you saw the result of that with Brazil exiting in the quarterfinals, with Morocco beating Portugal. It is the exact same sort of basic question in these two games. Does the underdog get to stay comfortable and play this game on their terms or not? Because you saw what happened when nobody left in this tournament is good enough to get past a Croatia, a Morocco with a really bad performance. You need to actually be the better team on that field. They showed it in the quarterfinals. If it does not go to, if the underdog gets to execute a plan, these really super talented teams, the favorites, are in real danger. Now, we also just saw this happen really, really effectively for both Croatia and Morocco, so can they repeat it? But that's ultimately what this comes down to for me, is I'm looking at this very similar to their 2 quarterfinal games. They found a way to win both of them against clearly superior talent in Brazil and Portugal. Now they got to do it again. But I can lay out a scenario in which it does happen again, because France were not good against England. Argentina have been shaky at times in this tournament, though not necessarily recently, but also just blew a 2-goal lead. So we are set up for 2 phenomenal semifinals. I will have match reports on both games, so be on the lookout for that on Substack, touchlinetalk.substack.com. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.